Back in 1999, we had a drama teacher at Heritage, and she was of Greek origin, and in her drama classes, she was teaching some of the Greek tragedy works.
So a group of youth and this teacher came to my office, and they said, "Jerry, we want to put on a Greek tragedy play."
So eventually we got it all put together. We had this really large gala affair at Sundance Resort.
All in all, this whole experience was just magical in a lot of ways.
After the play was done, we had a dinner with the audience, and several of the kids were invited to come up and say a few words.
And then they really opened up about what they experienced being a part of this process. They had never experienced anything like that, or people like that before. Responding to them and the pats on the back, and I mean, it was just a wonderful, wonderful growing experience for these kids. And so all of us who were a part of that really wanted to capture that again.
The challenge came the next year. We didn't have a director anymore. The teacher had left. We didn't know what kind of shows to do. We didn't know anything anymore. We had a mutual friend of Heritage that knew someone that was well known in circles in the local community, and he wanted us to meet her. So we decided to meet her for lunch and talk about Heritage and what we were doing, and she really wasn't interested at all.
I remember her resolute response at that time, which was, "I don't think so."
I was getting ready to retire. I'd been in theater all my life since I was 16. I was almost 70 at the time. And did I want to drive from Salt Lake to Provo? Absolutely not.
And so we invited her to come down and see the facility and see the kids.
And she came on campus and met some of the kids.
They all smiled and waved, and I fell in love with them. Finally, I said, all right, I'll do one show, and decided to do Joseph in the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat because it's such a fun show. But more than that, there's a moral to that show. And I thought if these kids are in trouble, they can enjoy and learn and be together. I had no idea it would take 3 months, but that began my experience with Heritage.
She knew how to get rough boys to dance and sing, and some of these tough girls to do the same. And she developed a relationship with them, and they respected her, they loved her, and they would virtually do anything for her. After the first show that we had done, she said, had I known how difficult it was going into it, I probably would have said no even stronger. But she said after going through it, even though it was so difficult, it was such a rewarding experience. And she's been doing it ever since.
The second year, we built a great big stage out on another part of the campus and poured a big cement pad, and we did Fiddler on the Roof out there, and the wind would come down the canyon and blow the stage, and it was on rollers, and it would start moving.
And fortunately, we were able to build our school building that had a gymnasium in it, but that had similar problems. At least we didn't have the wind blowing the sets, but we had to set up a stage inside the gymnasium, set up chairs, turn a gymnasium into a theater, which was a huge challenge.
And even though it created some logistical problems for our classes and our gym class and all kinds of things for a couple of months, again, we made do. We've always dreamed about having a facility that we could use to do our performances in. And in the process, we had a woman that's a friend of Heritage, her and her husband, and she came forward and said, I'd really like to help. And I had contacted Lynette Loveland. Lynette's husband, James, was the chairman of our governing board for a number of years. And he had got leukemia and fought as long as he could and passed away. And James had a real passion for what we were doing here, and his wife was behind him and behind that whole process. And as I was talking to her on the phone, she says, oh, you're going to put a theater together? And I said, yes. She says, I'm so glad to hear that. And then, in a very, very humble way, she said, Jerry, would it be okay if our family made a contribution to that theater? I was driving along the road to Provo,
when I got the phone call. And when they told me that that was the donation for the theater, I was overwhelmed and have been since. Walking through the finished building, rehearsing in that building is like a dream come true for me and for those kids. That'll be there long after I'm gone. And the reverence with which the young people treated it was amazing. A lot of those kids had never been in a live theater before. When they got on the stage, they weren't sure which way they should face, never occurring to them that they faced the audience. And it was an amazing thing to watch the magic of the stage take over.
I'm excited about performing in this new theater and being the first ones to do a big show. And I hope this theater will stay perfect for a long time.
I love the building. I was like, no, treatment centers don't have this. And it was just like, somebody donated the money just to build this. It's pretty crazy. And it must really have a lot of like thoughts about us and stuff, so that's awesome.
Last night at the play, I had the pleasure of meeting Mrs. Loveland. I just said, I want to thank you from a parent, and my son's in the play, and it's just been a huge transition for him. But I think that it's not just a monetary donation in a building on a campus. This is a tool that gives kids who have nothing and who are in situations in school that they'll never, ever get picked to be in a play. They'll never be the kids that are on student council and homecoming. They're the kids that sit and watch those kids. And this theater has offered an opportunity to see that they're worthwhile and they're wonderful and they have skills and talents. And at the end, he came down and he just went right into her arms. And so from a parent and a child to just say thank you for what you've done. I think she is someone, as many people here at Heritage, that he will be indebted to for his, entire life.
This is my third year with Heritage. I started with West Side Story, and then last year we did The Wiz, and now Joseph. And this year's different than all of the other years. The stage has made a huge difference. And I wasn't even with them when they were out on the cement and outside, and I'm sure that's a whole nother level than we were in the gym. These kids, most of them have never danced, never sang, never acted, a lot of them haven't seen a play, let alone been in one. And so when you start them in a gym, learning it on the floor, and then you tell them, how it's going to go to a stage and it's going to be really exciting, it doesn't register until it actually is there. So the difference starting on this stage from the auditions, and they walk into this theater and you can't help but be awed and amazed and feel that it's really something big and special. And it's made a huge difference, I think, from the very beginning.
Probably the most difficult challenge is the number of kids that want to participate in the show, the number of kids that are in the show. For the director, she's taking a show that's written for 25 people and she's doing it for 50. And she gives parts to every one of those kids. She wants to showcase each and one of them as much as she can, even if they don't have a significant role, so to speak, if they're not a lead part in the show.
I think the auditions in the new theater were very difficult for me to get used to. They were very difficult for the young people. Auditions are anyway. But for me to remember who these kids are and yet treat them the way they must be treated in order to get the courage to perform, I couldn't treat them as I would any normal audition. They were longer than most auditions are. They took longer. I couldn't cut them off. They were on a huge stage. I didn't want to sit down in the audience and listen to them. So I got up on the stage with them around the piano. And little by little, I started to ferret out what I needed. And then I have to look for something to wrap the show around. I can't say I need this person to do this and this one to this. Sometimes I'll have two people doing something. Forever, the narrator has been a soloist in Joseph. That's the way it's written. What do you do when you've got a group of girls who want with all their heart to perform? And you know darn well it's exactly what they should be doing. Which is the best answer?
They're this, yeah, it's a total toss-up.
We now have 5 narrators.
That's good.
We've got 5 narrators.
So you take those girls and you put them together and suddenly you have a small chorus of narrators. Now, to get them to work together without being jealous and envious of each other, that took us right almost till curtain time. There's always stupid things. Somebody says something to hurt somebody's feeling, or somebody takes something wrong, or somebody is angry with somebody. Get over it. Think 19. My big theme song is Think 19. By the time you hit 19, you're pretty sharp. You say, okay, what has happened has happened. You can't change anything that's happened in any of our lives. As much as you want to, you can't change it. Nothing will change it. Let it go. The difference between directing a professional or semi-professional show and directing the kids at Heritage is that you're not only a director, you're part psychiatrist, in my case, part grandma, and you have to be part mind reader. You've got to know what's going on in their minds. And if you know them and you really care, you'll know.
On Thursday and on Friday, he wouldn't go, said he had a headache. But instead of actually like having a headache, go to nursing, went play volleyball one day, ping pong every day, and played basketball another day.
We were talking, I was telling him, I was like, well, as of right now, you're not in the play. And he looked at me and says, oh, that's good, because all my intentions were just to screw it up and, you know, make a little laughing stock out of everybody that was dancing on stage.
That's the difficult pattern that Kenji does. You know, he starts doing well in school, starts doing well in play. I mean, this is a very big pattern prior to even coming here.
I could go either way. I mean, my preference, you know, is to be not in the play.
One of the things I'm working on in therapy is that he's got to find some small successes of some things to help him keep moving in some direction. I mean, he just keeps on having habit after habit of starting some and then ending it. So, you know, in some respect, I agree with you in terms of why have him there if he's not really motivated to be there. But in some respect, it'd be nice for him to see this through.
Sure.
That's the other side of the coin on that one.
So I followed up with Kenji today, and he said that his problem is he's just so depressed that when he watches the kids having fun, and he goes, I can tell they're having fun, they're enjoying it, and I feel nothing. It's like makes me more sad because they're having so much fun and I just don't. He goes, it's like it takes all my energy to be there, let alone try to really be animated, dance, act, sing. Bottom line is he's going to try it.
This morning I had a chance to talk to Russ. He is a therapist for Kenji, who was playing the part of Judah. He met with the treatment team and they talked over, Kenji's behaviors and everything. The treatment team felt like this was something he really needed to do, and they felt like he was kind of having a bad time right now, and if he could get past that, then he could really have fun in the play. So Tammy, our chaplain, she pulled him aside and she said, you can still be in the play if you want to, and if you'd like, you can have a smaller part. And he said, I'd really like that. Some kids will get disappointed, but every once in a while you find that kid that just wants to be a tree.
My first experience in a heritage play was kind of new for me. After about probably a month of rehearsing, and I don't know, it really wasn't my thing. I didn't think it was, and I didn't think it was fun, and I was, kind of depressed, and I just quit. And what changed for me to go back into Fiddler in the Roof was I just wanted a new challenge. Like, I kind of wanted to redeem myself because I saw the first one that I quit out of, and it looked pretty good and it looked pretty fun. So I just tried it again and fell in love with it. That experience, it was really good. People were just telling me, like, you're really good, and that just brought my self-esteem up. West Side Story compared to Fiddler on the Roof was a little bit more exciting, because Fiddler on the Roof, I just kind of came in and I took over somebody else's spot, but with West Side Story, I got to audition and I took it way more serious.
Unless we speed fast and clean them out in one all-out fight. Yeah! Rubber, tough. Cool action. Sharks are tough. They might ask for bottles, knives, or zip guns.
Zip guns? Gee,
I'm not finalizing and saying they will. I'm only saying they might, and we got to be prepared.
My favorite part was the end of the performance where we got to come out to the front of the stage, the curtain call, and just the whole audience clapping and cheering and just the smile on their faces, and the feeling I got for myself is indescribable. To me, performing in the plays was probably one of the biggest motivating factors of my whole stay at Heritage. Now that I'm discharging, I'm looking at studying theater arts because I love to do this stuff, and I'm thinking of making it as a career for my life. I love to play.
I love musicals, and I actually really like this show. I was in it when I was 12, so I grew up with it and watched the movie and stuff, so yeah.
What an amazing production we saw.
Amazing production. Yeah, I mean, for her to come to a residential treatment center and be in the most professional type production she's ever been in, I think she didn't expect that, we didn't expect that. The staging was fabulous, the choreography, it was just beautiful.
She didn't even tell us she was going to play the violin.
Right, that was a complete
just
surprise.
Complete surprise, and when she came up, she originally didn't take her violin with her because she thought she wouldn't play.
Yeah, she hadn't played for a year at least.
Something like that, yeah. And she asked us to send it up, and that was great. That she felt like she wanted it, and then to arrive on Thursday night and see her with it playing. I mean, it was funny because she stepped off stage for a moment.
And I got really worried, actually. I saw her leave, and then I thought, oh my God, what happened? Why did she leave the stage? And she was gone long enough that I started kind of getting panicky and wondering, should I go check? And so then to see her in the spotlight with the violin in her hand was just priceless.
Kaja is really new to Heritage, so she's really new to me also. I guess what I can say about her is she had depression at home so terribly that she could hardly get up in the mornings. She couldn't make it to school. Along with depression, she had anxiety related to school and just functioning in daily life. She got along pretty well with her family, but they, I think, felt pretty helpless and didn't know what to do to help her have a purpose for waking up and getting going each day and functioning at her ability level, because she's a brilliant girl. So to see Kaja come and be excited about the musical helped her make that transition to Heritage, knowing that pretty soon tryouts would be coming, and she knew about the musical before she ever came to Heritage and was excited.
Well, there's a lot of reasons I'm at Heritage, but I think that a big problem was probably drugs and problems with my mom. I decided to try out for the play because I've just always loved drama and kind of being the center of attention. I don't know, I really like the whole glamour and the just adrenaline rush you get from being on the stage and everyone clapping, and you just feel fantastic.
I visited her in August prior to the play, so I've noticed in just a month an amazing transformation in her self-esteem, her sense of buy-in to the program at Heritage, and just her self-awareness in terms of other students working together with the other kids.
My son is at Heritage because of, the technical word for it, he's bipolar and ADHD, and he had trouble functioning in normal life, and from some of the abuse that he suffered as a kid, and he was still having issues dealing with it, and it was pretty extreme for him, and he needed a safe place, and Heritage was safe for him. It saved his life.
I'm manic depression. Tried to commit suicide, but I guess I would have been dead if I, actually wanted to die. I mean, nothing really happened. I never got hurt. So I guess I just had problems, issues.
He started doing the plays, and I guess he's a natural at that. He looked like it to me last night, and everybody else pretty much said that to me, and Pat was saying he needs to do this. He needs to express himself. And I watched my son last night for the first time in the play. He started doing this calypso thing, singing it with a calypso accent, and it flipped me out because Robert Mitchum sang a whole album as with the calypso accent, which is kind of silly, but he has a good voice. And my son obviously, must take after him in some aspects because he has a good voice, and I'm not known for my singing. So, but he did a good job. He was brilliant, and I'm completely unbiased.
I hear these steel drums sing their song. They're singing, man, you know you got this wrong. I hear the voice of the yellow bird singing in the tree. This is quite absurd. Oh yes, it's true.
One of the things that I really heard about was the credits. You get 0.5 credits, which in California for me is 50 credits. That's a lot of credit considering how many years I was failing school. Instead of having to just like sit there and sing whatever like I had done in my past years of play, you actually get to move around. You get to dance a little bit here and there. It's not just walking up, singing a song, walking off stage. That's your part. It's not just walking up to the microphone, saying a couple words. I felt that both plays so far have been a great experience. The first one was amazing. I had just gotten here. I had made so many new friends. I got into different types of music. This play, a little bit different. There's not as much interaction with females and stuff like that, but definitely there's a lot of practicing, a lot of hard work. There's so much to do, and it just keeps me happy when I have a lot to do.
Every time we had a phone call telling us about the play, I've got 2 roles. You should see my baker's outfit. I look really cool in it.
Very excited.
Actual happiness.
It was quite amazing sitting in the audience. We had sort of the best seats in the house, and we were crying.
We moved to tears, yeah.
And when we turned around, we thought we were the only ones. Everybody was crying.
Yeah.
It's been 3.5 years, and I'm leaving tomorrow. At age 13, I was a bundle of unhappiness, no self-esteem. I was always angry. As I noticed as I grew up and stuff, I kind of had more energy and more so than a normal kid. The Wiz was my first play, great play, and I enjoyed it a lot. I really loved it. I took the play and made it my own. Put energy into it. The first thing that took me out was the play. It was the only thing that ever got my energy out and did what I had to do. My favorite one was probably Joseph with the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat because I had 3 main parts in it. I was the baker, I was one of the 12 brothers, and I played another minor role. And I found it to be really, really good for me because that was the time in my life where my voice was changing, kind of changing my social appearance and making me realize who I really was the part of the play. Future for me holds schooling. I have a background of lots of lyrics. I love to create lyrics. I love to write words down and make them make sense for everyone, and not just myself, not just my own situations. It makes me feel empowered.
Jordana has bipolar disorder. She was diagnosed at about 7, and as she's gotten older, even though she's been under treatment and been on medication, it's been very difficult to manage at home, and especially as she hit teenage years, she became very out of control and destructive. So we needed to find an alternative. One of the things that Jordana really struggles with is anxiety and feelings that she can't accomplish what other people accomplish. I think she's felt so much like she's behind because she's been coping with all the chaos in her brain that she hasn't been able to learn as well and keep up with as much. Being in the play, even though Jordana's not the consummate actor, she is on stage. She's in front of a lot of people. And one of the things I was just realizing this morning is she had 4 costume changes, which was unthinkable. One change of clothes would have been a nightmare before. It would have frustrated her and she wouldn't have been able to cope. The texture of the clothes would have bothered her, and if it didn't fit right. And here she had to quickly do 4 costume changes. And that's just incredible. That almost made me cry last night, just watching her and realizing and seeing how excited she was to be doing all of that.
With Jordana, and I really admire her because she's got a lot of courage to be able to be in the play in the first place. She has a lot of anxiety. She tends to get overwhelmed very easily. And so getting her into the play is really a big step for her because obviously it is a very anxiety-provoking situation, and getting her to have this sense of accomplishment and self-esteem that she can really do it and that she can be successful and she doesn't have to be perfect. It's just going to be a great experience for her. And she also is really enjoying it.
My family is really caring, and they're just like, okay, I told them that like I was really frustrated, and they're like, Jordana, I'm really glad you kept going, and you better do that some more because I have a lot of confidence in you. I know you can do this. And it was really helpful to hear that because when I don't believe in myself, I just don't do it. But when people tell me that I can do this and they believe in me and everything is going to be all right, then I push myself more. And it's really nice to have family that cares.
Okay, let's go for the second act, please. Second act, please. Last call for the second act. Everybody, please come out on stage. Roseanne, we're quitting. Roseanne, we're quitting for the night. We're quitting. Everybody out on stage. Somehow, somewhere, I gave you the wrong idea about theater. I assumed you were mature enough to handle it. I assumed you knew what theater was. I think I can't continue tonight. I really can't. I can't yell anymore. I'm too tired. It's your show. It's not my show. But when I have to ask you 3 and 4 and 5 times to come onto the stage or to help with a drop. So I'm sorry, I can't stay any longer. I'm too tired, I'm too discouraged, and I'm not going to do anybody any good. So tomorrow, we're going to start at 4:30 when we only have 2 and 3 hours a night, and we have an audience coming in 1 week from tomorrow. If I were in your position, I'd be scared to death, unless you don't care. Unless you don't care about all the people that are staying nights in there working on they stayed till 3 o'clock the other night working on your costumes. 3 in the morning they went home working on your costumes. But if you don't care, it's not worth it. Because it's for you. It's for all of you. It's not for me. Yes?
I'm pretty sure everybody feels the same way as me, but I think a lot of people are willing to try harder. And I don't think we should end like this quick. Everybody's willing to try it.
I just want to say, like, personally, for me, there are some of us that do really care about this and do really care about
And I agree. I don't know what I would do without the narrators and about half of Joseph's brothers. Do we separate? Tell me, do we separate the boys and the girls? No. Well, why not? That's where your heart is. Your heart is not what's on here. You're off there. Some of you came to me and you said, oh, how come you didn't give me a starring part? You gave them to this one and this one and this one. And so I took a chance on you. And my gosh, every time I look for you, you're not there, or you're talking, or you're entertaining, doing something else. I don't want to chew you out. I love you. I care about you. But you've got to care about yourselves. You've got to care about what you're doing. Some of you are far more mature than your age. But you get together and you don't act like it. I'll stay and go through the second act if you'll be willing to help tonight. I'm leaving it up to you. Is everybody going to, do you want to stay and go through the second act? Yes. Thank you very much. Let's go.
It's amazing how much I love these kids. And they come here and they work so hard, and we push them hard. And that's Pat. I would have no idea really how far to push or how to hold back, and she demands the best. You know, this is like any other professional she'd be working with. She doesn't cut them any slack, and that's what they need. And that's what gives them the satisfaction, is that we're not treating them any differently. We're not giving them any breaks. We are demanding of them what we would demand with any professional company we'd be working with, and that's what makes, I think that's what does it for them.
Make sure you've got all your costumes. The show will start at 6:30. We're ready to roll. We'll start right at 6:30 with the overture. Now, does anyone have any problems? The best thing to do when you're afraid, particularly in front of your peers, is to forget about yourself and think about the audience. Now, people say forget they're there. Baloney. You know darn well they're there. They're right in front of you, and you've already rehearsed and you're already good. Stop worrying about you and start dishing it out to them. Do you understand what I'm saying? At this point, please forget everything else. Take these few seconds to get in tune with the show and get all the help you can get from wherever you can get it. Heaven knows we all need it. All right, everybody, and thank you for all these months and weeks of hard work. Okay, do it to it.
I would say probably the greatest thrill that I see from the kids that are in the play, and they've worked so hard and they've gone out of their comfort zones to do things that typically they might not do. At the end, after they perform during that night and they've sung their hearts out and they've given their best to the acting and doing the best they can, all their parents and their guardians and the people that care about them and the other parents who've come and their friends and their peers are clapping. And that is such a high for these kids. I mean, it's like a moment of success, a moment that they can look back on and never forget because they've done something, and a lot of these kids haven't had a whole lot of successes. Most of their lives have been filled with getting into trouble and having challenges, and and so for them to have this, what a euphoric experience it is for them to finally have that moment where they have success.